a lot of things that are happening because we don't have the financial tools and resources, and this could be some type of powerful tool. What's great about layer 2 blockchain is that we can incentivize human behavior, and I believe that's a really powerful tool that we can utilize.
Hey folks, Flo here with CryptoNews Canada. I'm here with Brown Eagle Belanger from Decolonized Finance at the blockchain summit here in Calgary. Sorry, getting a little bit tired. We've done a lot of interviews, but this one is going to be very, very interesting. So please stay tuned. So Brown Eagle, why don't you introduce yourself in 1 minute or less? Who are you and what do you do?
Thank you. I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. My name is Brown Eagle. I'm the CEO of Decolonized Finance. So what I do is I eliminate financial predatory institutions such as like money marts, North Marts, pawn shops from taking their value from their customer, holding it against them to receive their assets.
Yeah.
So a lot of them go to these FIs just because they struggle with identity and supporting two documents to have a government ID. So supporting digital identity by utilizing our treaty number, put it on a blockchain, and be able to have direct deposit and take it a checklist system too, because it takes like 5 days to hold that business days to hold their assets, because they got bills to pay, you got kids to feed, and you got other utilities to do.
Yeah.
So with that having said, that opens up a whole other doors with opportunities such as hospitals to identify who they are, education, also the justice system. And then we'll be able to create a token backed by utility for social goods and be able to be backed on network demand. So put these networks onto the hospitals, onto the justice system, and be able to have the token rise up with value.
Okay, so this is a really new company, right? I think you're less than a year old, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Amazing. And of course, the title, Decolonized Finance, will have people pause a bit, and maybe some people will find that a bit bold, or I don't know, different people will take it a different way, right? I mean, how did you come up with the name?
My people are a nation of suffering and conflict and financial ruin just because we're stuck under the Indian Act, and we're stuck with the Canadian monetary system. So by removing ourselves by creating our own token to have on-demand liquidity, because we have our own regions and territories, but we have outside infrastructure and economic development, and we don't have any Indigenous businesses to support. So by creating our own token on the Ethereum blockchain, utilizing layer 2 protocols, incentivizing human behavior, and be able to have our on-demand liquidity to have our own infrastructure, right?
Okay. Obviously, I mean, I've interviewed a lot of Indigenous leaders in Canada, not specifically around blockchain, so I'm very happy to speak to you today. But I am, let's say, aware and sensitive to the complexity of the relationship between Indigenous Canadians and non-Canadians. How do you view the potential of blockchain, actually? Because the way I see it is, it in a way, is an alternative to traditional systems, including financial especially, and given a lot of Indigenous Canadians live on reserve and don't have the opportunity to present collateral, for example, for loans. I mean, there's a lot of issues around finance for Indigenous Canadians.
For sure, yeah, that totally makes perfect sense. Like Indigenous peoples and communities, we're always at the back end of the deal, always on credit, on loan, and then we're always chasing with interest. So if we're able to have our own, on-demand liquidity, this can help out so much with, self-sovereignty and having, smart contracts and enforcing accountability through code with self-governance. There's a lot of corruption inside our own government, and be able to hold people accountable by having an open ledger, decentralization, and full transparency of where our funds go. A lot of our funds are, self-interest with the people in that community that have the higher power to be able to use those funds. But if we can hold them accountable by transparency and have an open ledger to see where these funds go, and these funds can actually be utilized for the people's interest, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what was your first exposure to blockchain, by the way?
Back in 2016, 2017, I got into Bitcoin, and that was pre-COVID. But then when COVID happened, I was let go of 3 full-time jobs that I was doing. I was a helper in the community, doing men's groups and helping Indigenous people that were getting out of the justice system, and with mental health also. And I saw, with COVID, I saw a lot of tools and resources that the blockchain and Bitcoin can do, and with Web3 and encryption with peer-to-peer network systems, to be able to help out with situations that I've been through, because I went through a lot of lived experiences myself. Within the Indigenous population, there's a lot of layers and a lot of elements to their social issues, and a lot of outside entities don't know how to identify those layers, but somebody like me that has lived experience, I can identify those layers and be able to use the technology that we have there. We can eliminate those and be able to have, some type of self-sovereignty and be able to map our way back to, self-govern.
Do you see your role as well as educating the Indigenous community about the potential for blockchain?
100%. We got to simplify the education behind it, right? And there's a lot of big mistrust with outside, I guess you could say, outsiders, and then be able to bridge that gap. I would love to be the middleman and be able to bridge that gap with that trust issue with outside entities, because I understand the finance and understand the blockchain technology and crypto and how it all works, and be able to bridge that gap with the other businesses that can come into on the land. To be able to.
Let me give you an opportunity actually to communicate, but I'll challenge you a little bit. Can you explain in less than a minute what the potential, even 30 seconds, the potential of crypto for Indigenous Canadians? Why should they really care, pay more attention perhaps, and seize that opportunity that is in front of them?
Well, I think we're in a very powerful position because the whole country of Canada is waiting on regulation right now to have tokens, but yet us Indigenous people, we can create a token with a utility, with social goods, and have it on Indigenous land because it's our own law, it's our own tribal laws with our own land, and be able to still go into the free Canadian market and be able to have financial freedom in some way. There's a lot of things that are happening because we don't have the financial tools and resources, and this could be some type of powerful tool. What's great about Layer 2 blockchain is that we can incentivize human behavior, and I believe that's a really powerful tool that we can utilize.
What a great explanation. You're very, very clear and eloquent. What has been your experience at this conference, and what is your experience in general in the crypto community, which of course is largely not Indigenous, if we're honest? Do you feel, we often hear about inclusion here, do you feel welcome, do you feel heard and listened to in the blockchain community?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely turn some heads and ears perk up when I do open my mouth and express what's going on in the community.
Great.
I see a lot of monetization, but I don't see a lot of social innovation. There's a lot of social finance. Hence why there's Decolonized Finance, to be able to break away from that profit structure and be able to help out community by the masses.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with our audience in Canada or internationally about anything you want, actually?
Definitely. Bitcoin is definitely a traceable asset, so we'll be able to help our people, especially in the northern communities that are unbanked and that don't have any type of ID to support themselves to get into these financial institutions. So if we can have white label technology or even our own technology to help digital identity, but also have our own signature wallets for a banking as a service platform.
I think our light is starting to fail, so it's probably telling us that this is the end of the day.
All right.
Thank you very much, Brown Eagle. It's been a really pleasure to speak with you.
Yes.
I was here with Brown Eagle Belanger from Decolonized Finance. Really, really interesting interview. I'm glad we did it. Again, our light is failing, but that's okay. That's the whole thing about doing videos in such an environment. CryptoNews Canada, make sure to subscribe, make sure to follow us, and please support us because we're trying to give Canada a voice in the crypto space, and that very much includes give the Indigenous community a voice in the crypto space and beyond. I'm Flo, Future Flo on Twitter with CryptoNews Canada. Thank you very much.
Aho.